for our 2025 SNS JU calls for proposals. I'm Pavlos Founogerakis. I'm Deputy Head of Programs in the SNS JU, and I have the pleasure to be your moderator for the first part of the event, of this online event, the Info Day part. In fact, this SNS Info Day and Brokerage event will run in 2 parts. So in the first part, the Info Day, we will have the information on the call context, the orientations, the content of the work program, and the call conditions. And of course, we will allow some time for Q&As. After the lunch break, we will have the brokerage session, where during this part, the potential project participants and the applicants may have short presentations to promote their competence and project ideas and try to team up to create consortium. So before, of course, we dive into the program, I would like to take a moment to go over a few housekeeping points. Okay, I see that the slide is progressing, so it's everything works well. So the event will be recorded. This is important for the applicants to have access to all the details afterwards in the context of preparing the proposals. And the presentations and the recording, of course, will become available on the event page. And many thanks to SNS Co-op project team that is running the support and will help on this matter. Please keep your microphone always muted. Around 400 we have around 400 registrations for this event, so we expect more people joining as we progress during the day. So please keep your mic always muted if you're not presenting, of course. But always many thanks again to the team for muting if someone has kept his microphone on. Of course, you can ask questions. If you wish to ask a question, please use the chat box during the presentations. Answers may be provided directly in the chat by the SNS JU team, but also European Commission and 6GIA colleagues. And of course, don't hesitate to raise your hand during the Q&A sessions, and we will give you the floor. Just moving into the agenda, as you can see, we have an excellent lineup of speakers that will present all the details, the policy and the industrial priorities, but also the state of play, and of course the orientations and the ambitions of the work program. So we will have first of all the opening by Mr. Thibaut Kleiner, who is a director in Future Networks Directorate in DG Connect in European Commission, and he's also the chairman of the SNS JU Governing Board. He will do the opening, and then Colin Wilcock from Nokia, and also 6GIA Governing Board Chairman and Vice Chair of the SNS JU Governing Board, will present the industrial orientations and the 6GIA vision. Afterwards, our Executive Director, Erzsébet Fittori, Mr. Erzsébet Fittori will present the state of play of the SNS JU, and then Mr. Javier Alvarez, our Head of Programs, will give the key orientations of the SNS work program for 2025. Then, after the coffee break, we will dive into the details of the work program, and Mr. Alexandros Kaloxilos, the Executive Director of 6GIA, will present the details of the various topics of the 2 calls. Of course, then we will have the Q&A, and then I will jump in to present the call overview and the conditions, including also the eligibility criteria. We will have also a Q&A session after that. And last but not least, we will have a presentation by Mr. Manfred Halver, National Contact Point in Horizon Europe and the Idealist representative, who will present all the details about the European Digital SAP Network. Then, after the lunch break, as mentioned, we will move on to the brokerage session that will start at 1:30. So I hope you find the event useful and informative, of course, and fruitful in the context of preparation of proposals. So without further delay, I would like to give the floor to Thibaut, Mr. Thibaut Kleiner, who will do the welcome and the opening of the Info Day event. So Thibaut, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Pavlos, and very happy to be with you today. I've been recently appointed actually in this role as Director for Future Network in the European Commission. So I'm really pleased now to be able today to welcome you for this important opportunity to learn more about the activities of the SNS JU, and especially the work program 2025 with topics in the various streams B, C, and D. And I think this is really an important opportunity for you to learn more about what we expect. But also I would like to start by recalling what we know somehow, which is that advanced connectivity and also that 6G development in particular are really instrumental for the EU in terms of our competitiveness, in terms of our ability to embrace these technologies in the global technology landscape, but also as instruments for our digital sovereignty. In the Draghi report, it was said that connectivity is one of the few areas where the EU remains a global leader. And the SNS JU is an initiative that is really designed to keep our leadership and to make sure that the best research, the best researchers operate in Europe. And today, we can say that digital technologies are more than ever crucial for innovation, for productivity across all sectors, and also for competitiveness. But at the same time, we sometimes tend to take connectivity for granted, whereas it is a key enabler for all technologies, for even artificial intelligence. We see that every day now, that the explosion of data, we have data from connected objects for artificial intelligence, for sources that before were not fully exploited. All this data requires more processing, more storage, more transmission resources. And at the same time, we see that virtualization and cloudification technologies are bringing a new paradigm, a shift in the way we look at telecommunication, because they decouple the physical layers from the control plane in a massive way. So this is a huge opportunity, and what we call the telco edge cloud convergence and the disruptive trends in openness, in AI, in disaggregation and softwarization of networks are important challenges for the traditional connectivity architectures. So that's in a way what we believe our research agenda will be testing. And I would like to say that this topic in particular, telco edge cloud, will also be investigated through Horizon Europe in cluster 4. We also have a call, so I'm just mentioning it in parallel because it will be highly complementary to the activities of the SNS JU and the calls we are presenting today. So if we look at what is on the table in terms of these calls, these plans, you will see that it's about rapid technology and market deployment. It's about finding the conditions that will allow 6G to become a reality. And this covers various fields. I would say, of course, elements like radio interface, but also resilience and security, as well as new elements such as AI and automation or softwarization, again, just to name a few of these building blocks that we are looking for. And of course, we will expect somehow standardization to be a result of these efforts, with a strong position from our industry in the next 3 years, as well, and this is very important, pre-deployment trials and pilots towards deployment. I think we need already today to think about monetization of 6G. It's very important that we show to the telecom operators that investment pays off. And that's, I think, something that we should also see from the proposals, how 6G is actually also not only a technology, but really a paradigm shift that will bring more value and more benefits for the whole telecommunications sector. In that context, I'm really pleased that the SNS JU is fully involved in this development. It's an efficient machine, if I may say so. We've had also already very successful calls in the past. And I think that we see now from the midterm evaluation report of the SNS JU that we are in a good place. And I would like to really thank the colleagues who have been involved, as well as the evaluators. You are really essential in that venture, and we count really on your excellent work and support for the next step. I also would like to thank very much our private partners. They are deeply involved in drafting these programs, and the 6G Industry Association is not just a partner. I think they are really a co-creator of what we are presenting today. So really, this work program 2025 is an excellent opportunity. It's also a very important moment. We are mid-term, so to say, towards the deployment of 6G technologies. So we need to accelerate. We need to show European excellence in the development of these disruptive technologies. And we count really on you to make excellent proposals so that we can really shape the future of these 6G developments. Also making sure that we have the right standards, the right elements that support our European values, such as sustainability, security, and resilience. And this has to be embedded into the design of our 6G networks. So that's what I wanted to say today. I think we are all very enthusiastic about the opportunity of these calls. Thanks for the good work so far, but now really the real efforts are starting. And don't hesitate to reach out to my colleagues through the day to make sure that you understand fully what we are offering, but also make sure that you develop these great proposals that we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Thibault, for setting the scene and providing the European Commission priorities and, of course, the policy context. Many thanks for that. So the next speaker will be Colin Wilcox. So Colin, the floor is yours to present the industry orientations and 6GIA vision. Please.
Super. Thank you very much, and welcome everyone to this exciting meeting to discuss the next call in the SNS JU success story, I hope. And it certainly has been up till now, and I have no reason to believe this won't be another successful call with a successful set of projects. Thank you, Thibault, for setting the scene so well and for recognising the importance of both partners in this JU in building these work programmes. So these work programmes aren't created on the back of an envelope over a coffee break. They require a lot of work from a lot of dedicated people, and they require a lot of collaboration. So on the industry side, we have wide consultation starting from the SRIA, coming from Networld Europe, involving nearly 1,000 organisations in Europe. That's the basis of where we think the technologies are going. And then we link in with that the key insight from the 6GIA members, the various large industries, SMEs, academics and research institutes, to try and pick the particular areas that are important. One of the other key, or the other key input is then coming from the public side, from the European Commission with the policy. What is important for European society, for European industry, and we need to then mix all these elements together and come up with a work programme, which you will see now described in great detail over the next hour or so. And obviously it's also important, the brokerage event this afternoon, trying to make sure that we have the right partners and the right parts in those project proposals. I don't wish to hold up the important information which is coming any longer. Just to thank everyone who has been prepared, who has been preparing this proposal. It's very much appreciated, and looking forward to having some wonderful project proposals and wonderful projects coming out of this. Maybe just as a last word, the developments in connectivity and mobile communications don't stop with 6G or with a particular release or with a particular research program. And one of the things that from both the public and the private side that we are concerning ourselves with at the moment is, in the future, beyond the current SNS JU programme, what is the right place and the right scope for mobile communication research? And that is something where We have put out a paper today to the CJIA members, giving our first views. And I think this is going to be the subject over the next few months where we would welcome support in trying to make sure that we have the right solution for publicly funded research in connectivity going forward. So with that, thank you very much for your participation, and I hand back to the moderator.
Thank you, Colin, for presenting the industrial and the 6GIA perspectives. So very, very important also as private member of the SNS JU. So now we will move to the next presentation. I will give the floor to our Executive Director, Elizabeth Pittori, who will present the state of play of the SNS JU. So Elizabeth, the floor is yours. Let me share also the presentation.
Thank you very much. Please also allow me to welcome all of you on this important day, whilst the slides are coming up, hopefully, in a minute. Let me start by just reinforcing the messages that we have heard from Thibault and Colin beforehand. The ambition and the mission of the SNS JU is really to create European leadership in the development of the 6G technology throughout also the standardization process, and also to create leadership in the transition. As Thibault said, of course, the research and innovation phase is extremely important, but the ultimate outcome that we are seeking is to have future smart networks and systems, as well as services, new capabilities that shape our connected future, which will be key for the sovereignty and competitiveness of the European Union. Well, what are the key activities? I know that you're all quite familiar with us, but just to recap what our key activities are. So we are funding research and innovation projects from the Horizon Europe Fund of the European Union, with a total public budget of 900 million euros, which is matched by the private sector. We are contributing towards the 6G standardization roadmap, coordinating strategic deployment agendas with regard to 5G, in particular cross-border 5G corridors, and co-creating with vertical sectors to define innovative applications, as already has been referred to via trials and pilots with verticals. I think that the JU model has been a key element in the success story, because 6G as a new technology, but also the ultimate market success of the new technology requires unprecedented levels of collaboration, which is very much actually the model of the joint undertaking with both the public and the private sides, represented with member state governments, associated countries closely associated in our states representative group, and having vertical sectors included in the program via our Stream D projects. As has been already emphasized, 6G will be more than just a technological achievement. It will be a key enabler built on European values of Europe's digital sovereignty, economic growth, and societal advancements. Why is it really important that Europe actually leads on this path? It is really important because economic growth will be very closely associated to the digital economy. It is projected by the World Economic Forum that growth in digital will actually double by 2030, And this is what Europe and European companies should capture at least their fair share of this economic growth. And in this context, the next few years will be critical for the SNS JU program, but more broadly for 6G development and for European leadership. Our agenda is closely associated with the timelines of global standardization processes. And indeed, global standardization in the 3GPP has already started and kicked off in 2025. So we are entering a very critical phase in technology development with the ultimate objective of delivering on a full 6G system view by 2030. On the next slide, I think is really the summary, a very high-level summary with a lot of details as well of where we are today with the SNS JU program. We are, as has been mentioned, approximately halfway. Together with the calls opening in 2025, there is roughly 630 million euros of public funding invested in SNS JU calls. You can see at the bottom of this slide the breakdown of the value of each call every year, and you will see in the following part of the event the details of the roughly 16 expected projects to be selected this year, and what the key technology topics are. With this program that you have seen on the previous slide, we are actually aiming to achieve several KPIs at the programmatic level. So really trying to connect the research and innovation phase towards measurable impact. This is a sneak preview of where we are today, but it's a sneak preview from our annual activity report that we will be publishing later this year. Which actually summarizes most of the achievements so far. I would highlight just a couple of these many elements. One of them is that there is a very strong contribution of our projects to standardization. We have more than 1,000 contributions so far, which is a quite high number. I would also like to highlight SME participation. We are well over our objective of 20%, roughly around 30%. And also we have a lot of projects which are researching key European strategic priority areas, such as, for example, sustainability. Nearly half of our projects are actually carrying out research in this area. To conclude, because you will hear from the following presentations the details of the topics and the core conditions, I think it is important to re-emphasize the messages that our program is operating, and we are all working in an environment that is characterized by intensifying global competition, especially intensifying global competition in the domain of technologies towards technology leadership, and needless to say, quite a fair amount of geopolitical uncertainty. In this context, as technology leadership translates actually to political strength and power, it is really important that whilst other regions of the world are increasing their strategic investments in connectivity and telecoms related research and development, that we are keeping steadfast and not fall behind. public-private investment and the leverage effect is absolutely essential for Europe. And this is underpinning a lot of strategic priorities, such as digital sovereignty, such as competitiveness, and that technology is being developed with European values at heart. SNS JU and our program, as you know, is the European vehicle for 6G research and innovation. So I encourage all of you to listen carefully, raise your questions today, and then ultimately submit proposals to our calls to be part of the European path towards 6G. Thank you very much, and I hand back with this to the moderator.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth, for providing the SNS JU state of play, but also highlighting the key achievements and, of course, some important key messages for the community. So our next speaker is Mr. Javier Alvarez, our head of programs, who is going to present the key orientations of the 2025 Research and Innovation Work Programme. So, Javier, give you the floor.
Yes, thank you, Paulos. Let me see you can see the slides, right?
Yes.
Just let me connect the camera as well. Okay. Well, good morning. I'm really pleased to introduce today the 2025 work program of the SNS JU. I will guide you through the orientations of the 2025 work program, and there will be later additional further details by Alexander Kalopsilos and by Paulos from Herakis. So I will just try to provide you the overview at higher level. The networks and services that we develop today will define how Europe works, how Europe learn, how Europe compete in the next 30 and 40 years. So I think this is extremely important for the overall European project. And it is really your ideas, your proposals, your partnerships who are going to bring this vision to life. So let's start with what we have. Let's see if it works. Yes. This year we are going to launch two distinct calls for proposals. So two coordinated calls that will have one single deadline on the 18th of September. This is new, and I think it is important for the community to know that we have a synchronized deadline, but in reality, we are going to have two calls. This is due to different administrative issues that are internal to us, but what I think is important is that we have tried to streamline the coordination and ensure that there will be a coherent evaluation across all the wide spectrum of research and innovation projects that we have foreseen. We hope that this will allow you to better plan, to build a consortia, and also for us to evaluate faster and be able to guarantee that by the end of this year, we will have the whole process finalized. As it was said before, the annual work program has been co-designed by the European Commission, by our private partner, the 6G Industry Association, and also by other teams here at the SNS JU. And it's the result of an effort to really foresight what is coming next, and also introduce in the analysis the latest developments and European priorities. There are many elements that we have used in our analysis to shape this work program, but I want to highlight just three of them that have been incorporated in the annual work program. One is the strategic plan of Horizon Europe that has different elements into it, but I want to highlight the green transition that is very much linked to the sustainability efforts and the concept of KPIs that I think is integral to the 6G vision. The digital transition that is really connected with the vision of that is incorporated into the white paper of the collaborative connected compute, the so-called 3C network vision. And I think this is also a very important part of the program. And finally, the resilience and competitiveness that has to really be included in our activities. In parallel to this, in 2024, we also saw the initial meetings and discussions and agreements on the 3GPP standardization process of 6G. And I want to highlight the good work that was made in Rotterdam in May 2024 with the initial SA1 workshop, in which the definition of the 6G use case families was heavily influenced by the position of the European ecosystem. I think this is a very good example that if the European ecosystem is coordinated and is aligned well into a common and coherent set of actions, it can be very influential in the global stage. Finally, I think with all of this, and there are also many other reference papers that we have mentioned in the annual work program, we have tried to develop this set of priorities. In terms of strategic objectives, we expect, and I think this is also important to help the community know how we are going to be organizing all this evaluation process in the coming months. We expect to receive more than 120 proposals. That is connected with only 21 projects that could be selected because this is what the budget that we have been allocated this year. That means that this process is going to be extremely competitive, and there will be. I want to reinforce that the long-term strategic political objectives are going to be relevant for this decision. It has been mentioned before by Thibaut Kleiner, by Colin Wilco, by Elspeth Victory. Probably one of the most important objectives is to build a globally competitive EU ecosystem, not only in digital technologies, but also on the overall economy. I think it's also very relevant to integrate the most relevant verticals that are going to require specialist services that will be enabled by connectivity technologies. Sustainability I think is going to be a fundamental driver, especially to demonstrate that we can significantly lower the energy needs of the digital future. As we know, energy consumption is one of the main issues that still needs to be solved at a global level. Innovative business model, and especially how to support disruptive high-value applications, I think is also a very important topic. It has been mentioned twice before, the effective impact in 6G standardization, and probably for us directly at the SNS JU, more importantly, how to reinforce European technological sovereignty and how to bridge the gap between the early research and the real world impact. So with all of this, I think you can have an idea of how we are going to be setting up the evaluation process. I have one specific slide on this a little bit later. In terms of the structure of the work program itself is totally aligned with Horizon Europe. For those of you that are new to this process, you know that in Horizon Europe there is a scale based on technology readiness levels from 1 to 9. We are focusing on the areas mostly between TRL 2 and TRL 7. And this defines two types of actions, what we call research and innovation actions that are focused on the development and validation of technologies, and what we call innovation actions, which is more focused on demonstrations and scale up of technologies. This is the area where we are going to be working with the verticals to make sure that the technologies that are developed initially at the lab level really make sense for the vertical sector, for the demand side. So in between, we have the possibility to develop experimental infrastructure and platforms to make sure that this bridge this gap is properly bridged. I think that the key objective of the program, and later we will explain exactly for each of the actions how this is going to work, is to move along this horizontal axis from left to right and make sure that at the end of our program, we are able to demonstrate that we have enabled pre-commercial network features and services that are going to be really impactful in the market. Giving you an overview at super high level of the annual work program, and this is going to be the focus of the later sessions. We have 2 calls. The first call that was opened yesterday, actually the 22nd of May, will include these 17 projects with a budget of 104 million. The structure of this call is relatively similar to previous call that we had in the past. We are going to have a B1 strand focus on disruptive tech, with one area on advanced tech and architecture, and one area on advanced IoT and devices. There will be also an area on wireless and signal technologies, infrastructure and devices on NTN and photonics, reliability and smart security, also 2 projects, microelectronics, and telco cloud and services. The second part of the program, the second call that will be launched on the 18th of September, will incorporate 4 projects and trials and pilots with verticals, and the amount is going to be 24 million. In more detail, but I think there is no need to explain this right now, because there will be later a specific discussion on this. This is what we are going to see. In total, there are 21 projects, and I think I don't want to spend too much time on this, because this is going to be explained by later. In terms of the proposals that you have to write, and probably this is the most important slide of my presentation, I think these are the 5 key topics that you have to incorporate in your proposals. I would suggest that you try to align your vision with this criteria. That is the way that your proposals are going to be evaluated. Bear in mind that this year we have a maximum of 70 pages, so you have to be really clear and concise in the preparation of the proposals. Number 1 criteria is going to be technological excellence, obviously. So you have to demonstrate clear advancement beyond the current state of the art, and I think we should emphasize everything that is openness, modularity, and compatibility with the standard. The number 2 criteria is going to be impact, obviously, and relevance. How you contribute to the EU policy goals, and eventually if you have potential synergies with other activities, other programs. It's very important that you incorporate measurable KPIs so that we can evaluate the impact that you propose and how you are going to maximize it. And to include key value indicators, clear ones, such as, for example, energy consumption or spectrum efficiency. The number 3 is going to be the partnerships that you are going to incorporate into your consortia. This is extremely important, and especially for those projects that are going to be working with vertical sectors. I think it's very key to have really participation of the demand side into the proposal. Where appropriate, also, I think it would be great if you can incorporate international collaboration into the projects. And to this extent, Paulus is going to give you later on indications on this. Feasibility and execution, obviously, is very important. So we have to see that you have realistic timelines and scalability strategies, and that you anticipate the potential risk and you incorporate potentially ways to implementation plans that mitigate these risks. And finally, a very clear exploitation path from day one. This is one of the most important areas that I think we have to improve. Things like IP, industrial take-up, commercialization roadmaps should be incorporated in your thinking from day one. Don't wait to see what are the results of your project to start thinking how you are going to work on this. This is something that I see every day, and I think we should really do a much bigger effort to really think in terms of long-term exploitation, and even if it's from a scenario kind of point of view from day one. Finally, there is one more criteria that we have to incorporate, which is the ICOP. This is especially important for 6JIA members, and this will be really relevant in cases where proposals have equal score. Again, there will be explanation on the details of this by Pablos later on. Two comments that I want to make also to the community. One of them is related with consortia, how to build consortia. I think the strong proposals come from strong consortia, and this is one area where I think the proposals and especially the coordinators that are building consortia have to be mindful. We have seen a clear correlation between two aspects. The best proposal comes from the best structured teams, and also there is a high correlation between the projects that are selected and the number of proposals that are presented. So as you can see in our program right now, and we have analyzed this for the last 3 calls, there is a high correlation, high concentration of the proposals in a number of member states. If you are a company or a member state that is located in this long tail and you want to improve the position of your country or of your company, I suggest that there are 2 ways that you can do it, in which you can do it. One is to present more proposals, because as I said, this is highly correlated with the number of proposals that you present. It's difficult that a country will have more proposals accepted if there are not more proposals presented. That's one thing. The other possibility is that you enforce, incentivize the companies from your country to join consortia. If you don't know how to start, today's brokerage event that we are going to have later in the afternoon, I think it's a great opportunity to do that. So for the kind of national contact points that are in the call, or for the SRG members that are in the call today, I think this is one area where you could probably collaborate with us if we want to improve and make that the countries that are underrepresented in our program improve their representation. The other comment that I wanted to make is that 6-year standardization has already started. I already mentioned that we had a very successful workshop last year in Rotterdam, but we also had a very interesting meeting in South Korea earlier this year in March. I suggest that if you have not done it, that you look at what has been the outcome of this initial workshop, because it gives a lot of guidance on what is going to happen in the next 3 years. Let's try to align all our research and development efforts with what we already know that I think is going to happen at the global level. I think if all the activities that are not aligned with the 6-year standardization process, I think risk not being really impactful, and I think this is something that we cannot allow for, especially for European projects. Related with this, I did an analysis of the companies and the contributions that took place in this event in March. I think it's important to highlight that the 6G standardization process is not going to be like for example, the 5G standardization process that started around 10 years ago. This is going to be a much more global and participated process. We've seen a lot of newcomers coming from multiple vertical industries attending 6G standardization discussions from day one. So especially those of you that are thinking of providing proposals for our stream call, I suggest that you look at the vertical sectors and at the companies that have shown already interest in the 6G standardization process and that have already started to propose contributions in this process. I think this is one of the activities in which we have to understand much better how the future is going to look like. So this is the final slide. I think it would be good to imagine how the future would look like if success is what we expect. I think if I would love is that if we look back in 2030, as Edward said, and we look at what we have done with our program, with the proposals, that we can demonstrate that we have achieved technological leadership, so that components developed in the US and the EU are integrated into global standards, that we have developed sovereignty and resilience, that European vendors and European cloud platforms have scaled up, that we have reduced the dependencies on third countries, that we have a strong participation of SMEs, that we have created, thanks to our projects, startups that have started to develop globally, that we have deployed 6G use cases across verticals that are starting to take up, that we have improved sustainability, we have demonstrated energy savings, we have demonstrated that we can deploy network architectures that are green by design and secure by design, that we have increased the EU leadership in international 6G fora. I think we are on a very good path to do that already. And finally, that we have demonstrated societal value, so that the use cases that we have developed support European values, and we have many examples of how to do that. Your projects really are key to do this, to improve Europe's capacity to transform R&D into industrial strength, into global impact, into digital leadership. So I really wish you all best of luck with your proposals, and I pass the floor back to Pablo. Thank you very much, and best of luck to everybody.
Thank you, Javier, for giving us a very nice overview of the orientations and the strategic objectives behind the SNS JU work program. I have seen there's some questions in the chat. We have answered most of them. Of course, there is one question that will be answered in the next technical session, so that's why I have not provided an answer yet. So for the moment, I think it's the time for the coffee break. So you have around 10 minutes. Let's reconvene at 11 o'clock sharp. Thank you very much, and see you in 10 minutes. Of the morning session. So I have the pleasure to give the floor to Mr. Alexandros Kaloxlos, who will present, the Executive Director of 6GIA, who will present the main details of the R&I Work Programme 2025 topics. So, Alex, the floor is with you.
Thank you very much, Pablo, and it's really nice to see all these people participating in today's event, which shows a strong interest from the community. Before I start, I would like simply to say that, of course, I'm going to present the technical content of the work program. I would like to say that this is a complex process, which of course, as Timo Kleiner was saying in the beginning, it's a process that is a co-creation activity between DG Connect, the SNS office, and the SIG Industry Association. And I will take advantage that I have the floor to thank some people from the private side, because the effort from the private side and the commitment is quite high. So I would like to thank Didier Bourse for leading this activity for the private side, Rui Aguiar, who is the chairman of the Network Europe, Carl Santor Haro, who is a board member of the SIG Industry Association, and Bernard Barani and Werner Moore, who are working in the SIG Industry Association office. And of course, from our side, from the SIG Industry Association, we always do the best that we can to identify the key priorities from the Network Europe sphere, but come up with ideas and priorities, but also always check if these ideas make sense with our strong community of 400 members, doing consultations, collecting the input from the members, and also performing gap analysis and a number of other tasks. Without delay, I will try to give you an overview and focus on what I consider some interesting point for you preparing the proposals. I'm pretty sure that you have all read the R&I Work Programme already, so I'm not going to just simply read the whole work program. Now, for the top level priorities in Stream B, there is the plan to have, let's say, two focus areas. The first one is on low TRL topics for disruptive 6G technologies. And the reason is that although the work for 6G is now progressing for some years, there are still topics that are quite open for the future. So that's why we have included, and I will give details on all of this later on, some topics that are focusing on disruptive 6G technologies, focusing on low TRLs, on topics that have not been investigated in the previous course. And of course, we always have the typical structure of medium and higher TRL for wireless or infrastructure or security to reinforce the European leadership. We always try in these topics, if possible, to integrate with verticals and enable the business model. Of course, support sustainability, as it has been mentioned quite a lot today. It's quite important, and mobilize the stakeholders. Now, in Stream B also, we target technologies with high potential for standardization. It is quite important, as Javier was saying before, the results should be, as much as possible, be used to impact the standardization at global level. And we cover various areas, from terrestrial to non-terrestrial, for energy efficiency, for security, for wireless optical communication, focus on front-end modules on the golden spectrum band, like the FR3, end-to-end cyber security, telco cloud, AI, and machine learning. So we cover a lot of ground in the work program of the SNS JU. These are for Stream B. For Stream C, the focus is on the C, telco cloud and service platform provision. Heads up, various documents that we have produced in the SIG Industry Association and also together with the public side, the focus is on open source technologies and things that have a high potential to be used by operational networks. And finally, for the large-scale trials and pilots, which is the Stream D, the idea is to find solution that will have high, again, probability to be used. As Timo Kleiner was saying, we need to find solutions that will monetize the 6G. The technology is addressing the monetization issue as well. Now, I've seen that there is already a question from Umit, if I'm not mistaken, asking the point that I have captured there. Is it prerequisite to use the previous platforms from Stream C, Stream D projects from the SNS JU? And I would add even national initiatives or any other EC-funded initiative. The answer is no, it is not a prerequisite for Stream D. Having said that, it's always interesting and a positive reinforcement to see that some of the results from previous projects are indeed being used. But the main impact is not to use the previous results per se. The main target is to ensure that the solutions that you are going to develop have a high potential to be used in real life in the future, and we can advertise your solutions after the completion of the projects as good examples to be adopted by specific vertical industries. I want to remind you to you all that inter-SNS project cooperation is a must-have. Please keep in mind when you are preparing your proposals that some effort has to be spent in inter-SNS projects cooperation. This includes a number of working groups, the steering board, the technology board. You have to sign a collaboration agreement to be able to exchange information. So collaboration is at the heart of the SNS JU. Do not forget when you plan. I don't know if you can hear me, okay. I was talking about the disruptive technologies. These are captured in stream B01, where we have two strands, essentially, under the stream. The first one is about advanced architecture system and technologies, where we plan to have 5 projects eventually. The topics areas are about new architectural solutions for the evolution of the SBA, several activities that are captured in detail in the work program, deep learning models, real-time serverless computing, autonomous cognitive agents, and goal-oriented communications. The important thing here is the following. We are talking about disruptive technology. So the starting point of the TRL is from 1 at the beginning of the project, and the end is at level TRL 3 or maximum 4. The project should not reassess technologies that have been already investigated and will have results at higher TRL. So you have to produce new results and think and work for future and forward-looking solutions. The other thing that is quite important is you can say more than one of these topics, but we are targeting here coverage as well for these topics. So indeed, you could select more than one topics, but there is going to be a center of gravity of what you are going to select. And please pay attention that the topics and the award of the selected project is not going to be based only on ranking of the score, but also on coverage. If, of course, the threshold and the budget conditions are met. So what I'm trying to say is that if there are 2 competitive solutions and many competitive solutions and projects, and for example, there are 2 deep learning model projects with higher ranking compared to new architectural solutions. If the new architectural solution is also above threshold and there is enough budget, then we're going to the SNS office is going to select one of each so that we have the coverage of the topics. Now, the second strand of a disruptive solution is about advanced IoT and device technologies. The target is for 3 projects. The areas are sensing and connectivity for close to zero energy devices, communication technologies and architecture for unlicensed operation for IoT, and IoT applications that benefit from 6G features and perform better than 5G. The conditions that we have are quite similar to the previous strand, so meaning starting with and going up to 3, maximum 4. And again, we target not only about excellence, but also about coverage of the topics. That's why you see 3 topics, 3 projects, and 5 projects, 5 topics in the previous slide. Moving on, in the second stream, here we are starting to follow the usual structure as we had in the previous calls. We are talking about wireless communication and signal processing. The target is to have 3 projects, ideally, with various topics covering physical layer, including spectral and energy efficiency, with all the nice things that we are, are at the heart of what we are doing: modulation, coding, forward error correction, multiple access, duplexing, etc. Extreme exploitation of MIMO and advanced beamforming, hybrid analog and digital front-end modules, AI, which of course has a lot to offer in the RAN part of 6G, spectrum sharing, which is another important topic, and RAN coexistence to enable upper mid-band usage of 6G. As you know, there's a lot of discussion about the FR3 band, and not all the band within the FR3 is fully available. So potential solutions to enable coexistence between different ready access technologies in the upper midband is an interesting topic. Automation and disaggregation in the RAN segment, orchestration, etc., and agile use of functional accelerators at the 6G RAN compute continuum. Here, you will see that the TRL starts higher, 2 to 3, and reaches 4, or maximum TRL 5, if mature 6G solutions and technologies are used for specific verticals. So this was a similar condition in the previous calls as well. The thing that I would like to focus is the following on the title. In the title, you will see wireless communication technologies and signal processing, standardization, and follow-up proof of concept. What does this mean? As mentioned already, whatever we do, it needs to have a significant impact. Standardization is one of the main battlefields where Europe should have a strong impact. So the solutions that you are going to develop should also target a serious impact in standardization. Now, about the follow-up and proof of concept, what we mean here is the following. There is no hint that these projects are going to be the follow-up of the projects selected in previous calls. But the intention is to follow on the ideas and the technologies, not the consortia, not the previous projects, on ideas and technologies that potentially have been studied in previous calls. So I hope this point. Then, as time flies, in stream B03 is about communication and infrastructure technologies and devices. In the past, this stream contained various topics, including satellite, photonics, devices, short-range communication. In this call, because we don't have the budget to cover everything, we focus on NTN for one project and one project for photonics. If you have noticed, the IoT, exactly because it could not be accommodated here, was moved in stream 01 about the future disruptive technologies. Now, coming back to the slide here, which is about the 6G NTN unification with various topics about the management of multiple access networks through a unified control plane, the independent reconfiguration of the NTN part in terms of performance, security, and resilience, routing in multidimensional networks, spectrum issues, coexistence, for example, on spectrum bands where you have satellite and you have terrestrial networks as well, multi-tenancy and end-to-end resource provision and through slicing, solutions to improve positioning, etc. Now, there is a note in the call where it says that advanced payloads and multi-satellite antennas are not in the scope from R&I perspective, because these are usually required in other organizations or initiatives. But the satellite architectures with different levels of data processing are indeed in scope. The TRL level is as it was last year, and it was for the wireless communication. Here we have a topic, again, we are in stream B03, which is about the communication infrastructure, and this topic is about higher speed optical access networks and end-to-end packet optical architectures in 6G, targeting one project, with the topics that you see here. So higher speed energy efficiency optical access networks, and of course the end-to-end packet optical network architectures, access and backhaul, potential room for optical space links, integration of wireless and optical sensing, AI to support automation for energy efficiency, quantum networking over fiber for trustworthiness, and the impact of photonic systems on energy consumption, which is, as you all know, this area of the photonics are quite promising to reduce energy consumption. Now, moving on, we have the stream B04, which is about reliable services and smart security. 2 strands, meaning 1 strand per project. As you see here, the first one is about smart security and security services, where the plan is to come up with solutions to integrate security attributes of 6G services, topics related to user-centric security, security schemes applicable to 6G APIs, intent-based security, So all these lists, which I'm not going to read for timing reasons. Security evaluation is also another important topic. And here you can select one or more of these issues that are mentioned, as it is the case for the optical, for the NTN, for the wireless, but always you need to explain in your proposal which part of these topics you are covering. The TRL level is the same as for the wireless, the NTN, the photonics, it's also applicable here, exactly the same for the security. And the B0402, which is about reliable service operation, here the topics are related to automation and intelligence security operation, service development methodologies supporting not trustable providers, new instantiation methodologies, interfaces and protocols for cooperative remediation, and multi-stakeholder and service auditing mechanisms. Going forward, we have the topic about microelectronics and front-end modules. The points that I would like to focus on are the following. The activities are expected to achieve TRL 5 by the end of the project. Spectrum band, at least it is referred like that these days, but with possible extension up to 24 gigahertz. Now, if some proponents offer solution for FR3 and at the same time they could offer potentially support for FR1 and FR2, that could be another additional useful feature. The idea is that the front-end module should have as a target the ITU 2030 target KPIs. And as you know, in June, there's going to be a meeting in ITU, not only to identify the categories of KPIs, but also the minimum target values. The focus is to target for the development of European solutions. It is on the scope to enable integration of heterogeneous class of technologies in computing, RF, and power generation. It would be interesting to leverage European stronghold, and it would be interesting to be compatible on downstream transfer to CHIPS JU and JU pilot lines. And I will come back to this because Matthew opened the session today with a very interesting comment. I will come back to this just in a second. Other topics is addressing packages, cover frequency sharing and coexistence with incumbents at FR3, and enable the integration of secure sensing and integrated sensing and communication. Now, Matthew rightfully, in my personal opinion, identified that although here we say, and in the previous presentations, that there are synergies with CHIPS JU, he mentions that this is not going to be necessarily the case. And he's fully correct. This is a very valid statement. What I can tell you is the following. From the SNS, for the SNS JU, the CHIPS Industry Association has always tried to open collaboration activities with the various partnerships, including the CHIPS JU. So usually what we do is we have yearly workshops where we invite colleagues from the CHIPS JU, associations that are involved in the private side of the CHIPS JU. And if you have seen the CHIPS Industry Association, we even had for 2024 a white paper that was even endorsed by the NIAS Association. What we can do from our side is to explain the NIAS Association, just to say that it's one of the 3 associations forming the private side of the CHIPS JU. Now, we have presented this to the CHIPS JU, but the CHIPS JU follows a different model compared to what the SNS is doing. They have either a small number of focus topics and a big number of topics that are related to the SNS SRIA, and people can submit proposals related to any chapter ECS SRIA. So there is no guarantee, if there is no focus topic, that there's going to be a plan from the CHIPS JU for a related topic. This is something that we have tried to do in the past. It hasn't fly, not with our responsibility. We are still trying to focus to further improve this collaboration with the CHIPS JU. And this is the best that we can do. Actually, this is one topic that we have as CHIPS Industry Association identified as one of the disadvantages of the existing Horizon User Program, something that has to be addressed for FP10. I could make similar statements for the Photonics JU, But let me just say that the situation is similar as I have it described for the CHIPS JU. Now, moving on, let's go to stream C, which is about the 6G telco cloud, one of the important topics, as Tipo Kleiner was saying in the beginning. And here the idea is to develop a service platform and a platform to provide, or middleware if you want, to provide telco cloud solution, supporting 6G features and KPIs. We are considering the telco cloud continuum, including 6G RAN capabilities, as has been described with XRX2 model. And the idea is to demonstrate the applicability of telco cloud for 6G use cases, and always ability targets. Now, one may ask the following. There are several activities going on. There is IPSAS, there is several projects in cluster 4 in terms of cloud, not necessarily telco cloud, but cloud. And of course, you may have seen that in cluster 4, there's going to be a call, a large call for a telco cloud facility, plus supporting recent innovation action and CSAs. So what is going to be the difference? The fact is that IPSAS is up and running, and this project is providing solution for telco cloud up to a certain level, of course, and it's going to continue until the end of 26, to the best of my knowledge. At the same time, there is a target from cluster 4 to provide large projects as close as possible to for operational solutions, so higher TRL. And in parallel, the call here focuses on telco cloud for 6G. So ideally, this telco cloud solution could potentially rely, it's not a prerequisite, could potentially rely on solutions already developed in previous or ongoing initiatives. And at the end, these activities should again target to transfer the knowledge to operational network. So it's like we move in parallel. So you have cluster 4 with 5G. The platform here is going to be mainly focusing on 6G solutions. It would be interesting to find synergies with ongoing related initiatives and plan how to share your results for future phases. This is also an important topic. The key target, once again, is the solutions that we have, because in Europe we face existing issues in terms of competition with other regions about cloud, telco cloud solutions. The solutions that are going to be developed have to be used eventually. That's the target, that this should be used in the future in operational networks. So the suggestion would be that you identify partners with proven record in standardization, because these activities are related also to standardization, with open source development, because as you will read in the R&I Work Programme, there are several open source development activities, and Europe could capitalize on these open source development activities and catch up the missing space, and have a clear exploitation plan on how to monetize and use the produced solutions. The activities are expected to achieve TRL5 by the end of the project. Finally, we have the trials and pilots with verticals. Focus that we want the involvement of SMEs, scale-ups, startups, of clear benefits. If I could try to summarize what we want to achieve here is the following. In previous calls, where we had various vertical industries, the proponents selected to cover as many as possible vertical industries. But this, it's very good because we have covered all the verticals that we could imagine. But the key challenge is how to monetize the solution. In order to monetize the solution, somebody needs to go too deep and attract key stakeholders for a specific vertical industry. That's why in this call, we clearly say that the focus should be in one vertical, maximum two if there are commonalities. So it's not a plus. I mean, if you cover two verticals, it's going to be a plus. The plus is mainly on the expected impact, the verticals that you are going to attract, and the potential probability, the high probability that your solutions are going to be used in the future, so that we can demonstrate your results are good results for the vertical industry to adopt after the completion of the project. As you will see, there are 5 topics, and as David was asking, you have 5 topics, but you are targeting 4 projects. Why is that? The answer is that these 5 topics have been identified, the top 5 topics, in a consultation with the members of the. So this appears to be the most exciting, at least for the members of the association. Of course, Pavlos has already replied to this comment that indeed it's going to be 4 projects unless there is an opportunity with extra funding. But also you need to consider that maybe some proponents may select more than one of verticals in case, again, there are commonalities. The SMEs here, I mean, there is a target of 20% participation for SMEs for the whole program, but especially here, we want to create an ecosystem and give an opportunity to the SMEs to participate. And I think I have already answered that stream. It's not a prerequisite for this call to reuse the results from the previous Stream C and Stream D projects, but it's always good to see that we had good results and these results are mature enough to be reused. It's a nice to have, but it's not a must have. And with that, Pavlo, I think that I have completed the presentation. Apologies, but I did my best to not overrun.
No need to apologize, since you managed also to answer most of the questions during your presentation. So many thanks for that, Alex. In the meantime, I was also trying to answer some of the applicants' questions, but I have deliberately left some of them unanswered because they're going to be discussed in the next session. I see that you already answered to Matthew questions on SNS JU and Photonics 21, let's say, involvement, but I see just one question that has not been answered so far, and this is about the free space optical communication and sensing, and if it is relevant to our goals.
If I'm not mistaken, I need to double check, but I think it is relevant. At least it should be part of the optical communication one.
Yes, I also believe the same, that it is part. It is not mentioned explicitly as free space. It is mentioned in the context and the objectives of the photonics integration of photonics topic.
Maybe we can take a note of this.
Maybe
Pavlo.
we can, yes, we can explain it later and also include it in the frequently asked questions, of course, to make it sure that for the applicants that they know exactly the scope of this one. Okay, and there is another generic question that maybe I will answer before we go to the next part. So it is from Thomas Summer. He says that at the beginning of the work program, the strategic orientation is described with the introduction of the 3 pillars: green transition, digital, and so on. So is there any specific guide expectation from the evaluation side on how these pillars should be addressed? And if it is expected that measurables and measurables KPIs, I guess, are introduced in the proposal, and how they will serve these pillars. So this is a very generic question, I can say, and then Alex, you can of course complement that. Indeed, this is the general context and objectives of the work program. It is the basis, let's say, of all the priorities that we have in the work program. And these key pillars, the key priorities, are translated into more detailed challenges and objectives in all the different streams of the work program later in the document. So, of course, it is relevant to our evaluation. Of course, the relevant KPIs are always expected, but of course, in more details, as you can see in the challenge and objectives of each stream. And then, of course, they will have to be taken into account in the evaluation under, of course, the excellence for the excellence KPIs, or the impact for the related impact KPIs. So indeed, it provides the full the general basis, let's say, but then next in the document, you will see the details of these priorities and how they're translated into specific KPIs. Alex, I don't know if you want to say something additional.
No, I think that you have explained this excellently. So.
Perfect. I don't see any other question in the chat, but now if you want to have the floor, let me see if there is any raised hand. I don't see any.
There is from Robert about the SME participation, if it is mandatory, and how will we measure?
Yes, I will explain that in my slide. So I think I will leave it for the next session. So since I don't see any other question, of course we can continue asking questions in the chat. Also, in terms of eligibility, I will touch upon this matter in the next presentation. So I will leave it for the moment unanswered. So let me move on to the next presentation on the general call overview and call conditions, and then of course we will come back to questions. In the meantime, if there are any questions in the chat, I would kindly ask my colleagues to take care of them while I'm presenting. Okay, so let me share my screen. Sorry. Apologies. Now let me stop sharing a bit. Sorry. Okay. Apologies for this glitch. I need to. Perfect. Now I think it works. Okay. So this session is about the detailed call overview and conditions. Of course, some of these of the details have been already presented in the previous slides, in the previous speakers, but I will go into more details on the specific aspects of the call conditions in this presentation. Okay. Something that has been already mentioned by Javier. Specificity is that currently we have two calls for internal reasons. Of course, we needed to have two separate calls in the work program, but for the applicants, it will not make a real difference. Just for you to know that we will have one call in stream B and C that has been already published and that was opened practically yesterday. So now you can also submit proposals in this in all the topics under streams B and C. While for stream D, this has been already published, but the call will open later on 18th of June, and this is our target date. So we have two different calls, and you will see exactly the differences between these calls in the next slides. Some important dates are already mentioned. Is the opening date already passed? It was yesterday for stream B and C topics, and for stream D 18th of June, which is the target. But the submission deadline for all streams is common, so it is 18th of September, 5 o'clock Brussels time. And what we always say to applicants is, please do not wait until the last minute to submit your proposals. This is a standard recommendation in the general annexes of Horizon Europe. We need to avoid last-minute technical problems or congestion. This is not a Commission or SNS JU fault, and you need to make sure that you submit them well in advance. There is a lot of material that you must read if you want to prepare proposals and team up with other entities. Of course, the SNS JU Research and Innovation Work Programme 2025, which was initially approved in November 2024 by our governing board, but then two amendments followed to include all the changes with the split of the two calls, but of course all the eligibility criteria for stream B and C, and lately for stream D. You need to have a look in particular in Appendix 1, which describes in detail the calls, but also the general call conditions. And there are some specificities. So I would like to draw your attention that, of course, you need to have a look at to read through this annex, this Appendix 1. Besides this material, another important source of information and clarifications, I would say, is the frequently asked questions page. So we have published already a page for the 2025 calls. For the moment, there is focus on stream B and C, but hopefully next week we will manage also to include some the questions for stream D as well. including also any questions and key messages that we take also from the info day and the brokerage event, as Alex has just mentioned, for example, on the photonics topic. So these are the topics at a glance. This is the two different calls and the topics, the detailed topics, and the identifiers that you can also see in the funding and tenders portal. You also see in this table the indicative topic budget. Of course, in the work program document, we specify what we consider that the budget could be, but of course this is for each proposal, I mean. But of course, this is not mandatory, and the applicants have the freedom. They can already ask for a funding different than the one that it is indicated in the work program per proposal. In terms of the instruments that we use the Research and Innovation Action, the RIA, but in the SNS JU case, the funding for profit organization is 90% instead of 100%. So this is important to take into account when you draft your proposal. For the stream D topic, we use the Innovation Action instrument, but there we don't have any changes regarding compared to the standard Horizon Europe funding for innovation actions. But what I mentioned, since we have a difference in RIA in terms of funding rate, we would like to kindly ask all the for-profit organizations to make a manual calculation and request only 90% of the budget. This will be very, very helpful for us when we assess the budget table during the proposals also evaluation, but also later. In terms of call conditions, the general annexes for Horizon Europe 23-25 continue to be the basis, the main basis for our call conditions. But of course, I mentioned also the specificities that you have to pay attention to during your proposal drafting. In terms of the list of participating countries, I include the link to the latest list, and includes all the latest updates. For example, the Switzerland Association to Horizon Europe, but also other countries' Association to Horizon Europe. But of course, you will see later that some of the provisions of the general annexes have been amended to cover some specificities that we have in the SNS JU. So the specific conditions that we have in the annex cover admissibility, eligibility, including the restrictions according to Horizon Europe Article 22.5, but also generation of in-kind contribution to operational activities, SME participation, collaboration between projects that has been already mentioned by Alex, and many other important points that you need to take into account. Let's start from the admissibility part. Besides the standard, let's say, rules in terms of readability, accessibility, and all these mandatory annexes, including the plan for exploitation, dissemination of results and communication activities, and so on, we have one derogation here, and this applies to the page number of the proposals. So the limit for a full proposal is 70 pages for IAS and EAS, submitted under all different streams. And this is something also that you need to pay attention to, because in the last calls we had the limit of 100 pages. So that this is a difference compared to the previous calls that we had in the previous 2 years. So we don't have any CSAs, of course, this time, but all proposals need to be drafted around 70 pages. Again, you don't need to reach the limit. You need to provide a concise proposal and avoid duplications in the proposal. So again, 70 pages is the limit, not mandatory to reach that limit. In terms of the ICOP notion, in-kind contribution to operational activities, of course, the participants in the current projects are well aware, but it is a complex notion for newcomers, and we still see a lot of mistakes in the ICOP calculations. So it is important to clarify this point for all proponents. So what is ICOP? Which is defined in the Single Basic Act as the eligible costs incurred by the entities implementing indirect actions less the contribution of the joint undertaking participating states. We don't have the direct contributions from participating states in SNS JU. So practically, what is ICOP for us is that it can be generated by members other than the union, practically the 6G Industry Association members, 6G Smart Networks and Services Industry Association, to say the full name. And this is a part of the funding rate. It is closely correlated with the funding rate. So if we reimburse a member of the consortium at 70%, for example, the 30% of the cost can be considered ICOP, but only by entities belonging to the member other than the union, which is the 6GIA. So this is an important tool for us to stimulate private investments, in addition to the public investments as requested by the JU implementation. And it is important for us to show we are already, from the previous call, at a very good rate, ICOP rate, but we need to continue boosting the private investments in the SNS JU program. Going into the details and how this is, what is the relevance to our implementation modalities and what is the relevance and how this will be evaluated in the program. This is the table that you can see. This outlines how the ICOP target at program level, which is 6% or minimum 8 billion euros, is converted in minimum target values. So all the proposals have to contribute to those specific targets per topic. So this is not, ICOP is not an eligibility criterion per se, but it is an award criterion. So if you check the specificities of the SNS JU and the relevance in the impact, under the impact criterion, you will see that there's a dedicated sub-criterion about the extent, let's say, to which the members of the proposed consortium contribute to the expected level of in-kind contribution to operational activities. So pay attention to that and the targets per topic, because we are going to look into that matter and evaluate, assess this at the proposal evaluation level. So how we do that? Applicants have to fill a mandatory ICOP declaration table, which is part of the technical description of the application, the part B, as we say. And you all need to fill that. I will show later the table in detail so that you can have the overview of what you need to fill. The ICOP level is also a tool to break the ties between equally marked proposals, and you can find also details in our work program, but I will also present that later under the SME part. Going a bit into the eligibility, and this is a big novelty in this in both let's say calls for work program 2025. So restrictions on participation apply based on Article 22.5, which is part of the Horizon Europe regulation. So this is the legal basis I include here. Practically is the article as such. So you can see, for example, that participation, we have the possibility to limit participation to legal entities established only in member states, or to legal entities established in specified associated or other third countries in addition to member states. And this is, of course, the first part of the article of the 22.5. But there is another part, the second type, as we say, that for duly justified and exceptional reasons, and in order to guarantee the protection of the strategic interests of the Union and the member states, the work program may exclude the participation of legal entities established in the Union or in associated countries directly or indirectly controlled by non-associated third countries, or by legal entities of non-associated third countries from individual calls for proposal, or make their participation subject to conditions set out in the work program. So I read this out because it is important that you all are aware of this new legal basis that applies to restrictions in our program. And going a bit into the detail, this is translated in specific text in our work program. So we have restrictions on participation in accordance with this article, and we include this the reasoning here but also in the work program text. But besides the Article 22.5 application, we also apply, in accordance with General Annex B of the General Annexes, the restrictions for the protection of European communication networks. And there, if you see the General Annexes, it is clearly stated that entities that are assessed as high-risk suppliers of mobile network communication equipment are not eligible to participate as beneficiaries, affiliated entities, and associated partners. And the entities that are assessed as high-risk suppliers are currently clearly set out in the related Commission communication on the implementation of the 5G cybersecurity toolbox that was published in 2023. Going a bit into the detail and what this application of article means about the eligibility criteria, as we say, both part 1, the legal establishment, but also part 2, the ownership applies. So just to remind you that for type 1, for part 1 restrictions, entities established in ineligible third countries will not be eligible to participate, but also for type 2 restrictions, the ownership control assessment will be conducted in order to determine if there is control by a third state. In the result of this application is that in streams B and C, where all topics are up to TRL 5, participation is limited to member states, associated countries, OECD members, and Mercosur countries. Furthermore, in stream D, which are higher TRL level innovation actions, so higher risk, let's say, projects, the participation is limited to member states, Iceland, Norway, and a few of the associated countries, namely Canada, Israel, the Republic of Korea, New Zealand, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom. In addition to these criteria, entities established in an eligible country, but which are directly or indirectly controlled by a non-eligible country or by a non-eligible country entity, may not participate in the action unless it can be demonstrated by means of guarantees that are assessed by the eligible country of establishment, in the case of member state or associated country, that their participation would not negatively impact the Union's strategic assets, interests, autonomy, or security. And in addition, and following the application of restrictions on communication networks, entities that are assessed as high-risk suppliers of mobile network communication equipment cannot submit guarantees. So this is more or less the context of the restriction. And if you want for the applicants to understand a bit what are the implementation modalities of all these restrictions, I have included the slide, but of course you can see all the guidance document on restricted calls. But very briefly, the participants, and in this case, all participants, including beneficiaries, affiliated entities, and associated partners, must fill in the ownership control declaration, which is annexed to the application form. If you go, for example, to the stream B and C topics that opened yesterday and you download the application form, you will see that there is an annex there, the ownership control declaration. So this declaration must be signed by a person empowered to represent the legal entity. And the coordinator must combine all the declarations into one single document and submit it with the proposal. So of course, signed original should be kept by the participants. Pay attention because proposals missing this annex for any of their participants may be declared inadmissible, so they will not be evaluated. And as of course mentioned by in the previous slide, all the participants will need to undergo this ownership control assessment to determine whether they are eligible or not. Note that public bodies are exempted from this obligation because they're automatically considered as controlled by their country, which makes sense. Now, in terms of guarantees, and where applicable, this must be signed by the participant. They will be requested and assessed by SNS JU and national authorities during the grant preparation. But what is mentioned also in the guidelines that if any ineligible country control is already known at the proposal submission, you are strongly advised in order to anticipate things and prepare the guarantees as part of your proposal. So I include the links to the ownership control declaration and guarantee template, There are detailed guidelines how to fill the declarations and the guarantees and what it should be included there. So please have a look in the template. And of course, if you have any questions, we already include several items in the FAQ page, but for more detailed questions, you are welcome to send us the question by mail, and I will explain how you can do it afterwards. Now, continuing on the eligibility part, there is another important issue that applies to 3 topics, more specifically in stream B5 on the FEM, and stream C1 on the telco cloud experimental infrastructure, and stream D on the verticals, so trials with verticals. So in this case, for B5, at least half of the budget should be implemented by 6 GIA members. The same rule applies for stream C. So at least half of the budget should be also implemented by 6 GIA members. And in stream D, note that at least 70% of the budget should be implemented by 6 GIA members. Why do we do that? We need, of course, one part is to support the ICOP generation. But the most important part for these 3 topics is the partners' long-term commitment. These are all very strategic aspects of our program. They may entail collaboration with new players or communities or verticals, for example, in stream D, but also collaboration with other activities. Alex has already mentioned the synergies that we expect, for example, for stream C with IPCI project or with other relevant topics under Horizon Europe Cluster 4. So we need also to make sure that this applies, they also create evolvable infrastructures that can be used by next phases of the SNS JU. So this is important that we ensure that there is long-term commitment. And that's why we apply this rule of minimum participation of 6 GIA. Now, applicants have to fill a mandatory table of compliance at proposal states. And I'm saying this is mandatory. I emphasize that because otherwise, the proposals will be considered ineligible. And again, if above conditions of minimum participation are not fulfilled, the proposals will be ineligible and will not be evaluated. We had cases in the past that we had to consider proposals ineligible and we couldn't evaluate them. So please pay attention when you create your consortium to make sure that you fulfill this rule. Note that all the other topics are fully open. Of course, the ICOP incentive always applies as evaluation and award criteria, but they're fully open for members or non-members of 6 GIA to participate without any specific minimum participation percentage. And this is how the ICOP declaration and table of compliance looks like. So this is part of the application form that you can already download for B and C. There is a table 3.1K that you have to fill. It has to be filled by all participants and for all topics, even if the ICOP is 0. But especially for the 3 topics that I mentioned in my previous slide, the table will be considered also for the eligibility assessment, not only for the specific ICOP sub-criterion under the impact. So this is very, very important. So please don't forget to fill this table. In terms of SMEs target, there is no change practically from the previous calls. So we're very, very happy that with the first 3 calls, we reached an SME participation target with around 25%, so much higher than the target program level, and without even considering the SMEs that participate in the cascading grants under financial support to third parties. So the actual percentage is much higher than 25%. However, we need to continue this effort. We acknowledge the fact that SMEs are important actors for innovation and competitiveness in the EU. So we need to boost the participation in the SNS JU program. That's why we have the specific sub-criterion under impact about SME participation and opportunities to leverage project results. So this will be evaluated and assessed under this criterion. Also, SME participation is also used to break ties. So you can find details, of course, in the appendix, but just as an example, when 2 RIA proposals are equally ranked, then, of course, you look at the coverage criterion, second, the excellence, then we check the generic impact criterion, but if there is tie in all of this, then we go and check the level of SME participation in order to break the ties. So this is also important when we have proposal with a similar score. So these are some specific ranking procedures. I think we received some questions on these topics. Apparently, it is not very clear to all applicants. So we have some ranking procedures, specific ones in the disruptive streams of B1, namely the architecture, but also IoT and devices. We need to ensure a balanced portfolio for these grants. So that's why we need at least one project highest rank within each of the topic areas priorities. So we have 5 priorities in B1 and 3 priorities in B2. So we need to make sure that we have coverage, a good coverage from all the selected projects. That's why, of course, what is important for all the applicants in these streams is to indicate clearly what is the center of gravity. So even if your proposal covers multiple of these topics, you need to indicate clearly what is the one center of gravity, the main covered priority. A similar approach applies to stream D. So in order to ensure a balanced portfolio and not have, for example, only one vertical covered, we apply the same logic. So grants will be awarded to proposals not only in order of ranking, but also at least to one project that is the highest rank within each of the above vertical priorities. Again, there was a question. Now we have 5 verticals, but we can fund 4 projects. Of course, this is not completely true because we need to see exactly the requested funding from the successful proposals. But what we also say in the work program text is that the proposals can cover 1 or 2, of course, if there are commonalities or complementarities of the verticals indicated. So in the end, we may have coverage of all the different verticals. Again, only the center of gravity will be considered in terms of topic coverage. So applicants are invited to clearly indicate which is the target vertical to help us during the evaluation process. I'm conscious of the time, so I need to move a bit faster. Some other conditions, important ones, project collaboration. This is not a nice to have, this is a must-have feature. So participants of selected projects will be requested to cooperate in the SNS program for topics of common interest by signing a collaboration agreement, which is also referred in the model grant agreement. So if you see the SNS specific, the SNS model grant agreement, you will see under Annex 5 that there is reference to SNS JU collaboration agreement. This is very, very important. Alex mentioned also that you need to foresee and allocate resources for that, because this is one of the strengths of the SNS program, that we allow strong collaboration between all the different projects in terms of joint action demonstrations, but also standardization activities and so on and so forth. So we have many collaborative structures, and projects will be invited, and this is mandatory to participate in the relevant collaborative structures. Another condition that is mentioned in the work program is relevant to the AI and machine learning, artificial intelligence, and machine learning training data sets for stream B. And this is additional to the open science provisions, because we ask all the projects under stream B to share their AI and ML training data sets. They need to be made available through a common repository that will be openly accessed and may be used by other SNS projects over the program life cycle. We see that this is very, very important. We thought majority of the projects under SNS dealing with AI, ML aspects, we need high quality training data sets so that we produce valuable results for the community. So please pay attention to this point as well. Now, in terms of support and Brokerage platform, we are here to provide support to any questions you have during your proposal preparation phase. There is an SNS JU contact email and a form that you can fill and sends us also that targets the same email address, the functional mailbox that we have for evaluation. So if you have any question, please send it to us, and you will have an answer as soon as possible. Before you send us any question, you're all invited to check the frequently asked questions. We try to cover all the applicants' questions that we received in this by email or other means, and we try to integrate their answers in this FAQ page. So before you contact us or you go to any other, to your NCP or any other contact point, please have a look in this FAQ page. Of course, you can always go to the Funding Attenders portal. There is a general FAQ for generic Horizon Europe issues, but also there is a service, the Research Inquiry Service, managed by European Commission and the Research Executive Agency. So if you have any general questions on Horizon Europe, you can always address it to them. The national contact points as a key, let's say, actor for guidance and practical information. So there will be a presentation afterwards by Manfred, so he will also explain the role of NCPs in the process. In terms of standardization, as mentioned by many speakers, this is a key driver of our work program and the key KPI of the SNS program. This is an important part also in the evaluation process and the key expected outcomes for all topics in the work program. So please, if you have questions how to tackle standardization in your project proposal, you can address, of course, to CENELEC Research Help Desk, but also to ETSI Research Help Desk, and they can provide you guidance on that. So we also have the SNS Brokerage platform. This is the standard platform that it is open and assists everyone to find projects and let's say participants that you can create consortia with, but also you can present your profile, your interest, and your potential ideas. And last but not least, especially for newcomers in EU grants, and we expect a lot of newcomers. In the last call, we had almost 40% newcomers in the grants. Please make sure that you register in the central validation service. You need to proceed with the registration of participants and get a valid PIC. So please refer to this presentation or check the video that we have in the link to see how this will be done. It is a 5-minute task, but it is a prerequisite in order to submit proposals. So, of course, we speak about proposals, but if we go to the other side, of course, if you don't manage to participate in proposals, don't forget that there is always an open call for new experts. We search for experts in the area of connectivity in all the different technology areas that we have in the work program to become evaluators for the research project. Of course, you need to make sure that there is no conflict of interest in this case, but this is important to inform the community that there is an open call for experts that could help us evaluate the proposals. You can find more details in the link that I include in this presentation. So that was all from my side. I will now stop sharing. I guess there were many questions that we need to address from the chat. So I will try to look into it. But first of all, I would like to, to give the floor. Again, I don't see any raised hand, but now it's the time. If you want to ask any questions, please, you have the floor. Okay, maybe I will take then some questions directly from the chat. I see some of them have been already answered, but let's see some of them that have not been answered so far. So let me go to the first. Yes, okay, so this is answered. So select one or more of these issues. This is a question from Ove Strandberg. Is the preference for more issues addressed or a more focused approach with limited issues? So again, it depends on the topic. You need to see if in some of the topics we say that you can select one of more of these issues, but it is not mandatory to select multiple ones. So this a focused approach is fine as long as you prove the excellence to this specific technology area. Okay, there's another question on the exemption of public bodies. Okay, but this has been answered by Christina. Many thanks for that. So I will take from the last one. Okay, can you explain ICOP again as an award rather than participation criteria? How does this relate to members and non-members of SIG GIA? So maybe I can quickly provide again, let's say, a reference to the ICOP criteria. So if you see the appendix, you will see that there is a dedicated criterion under impact. And this is the extent to which the members of the proposed consortium contribute to the expected level of ICOP. When we have the evaluation of the proposals, we always have in mind the indicative ICOP level per topic. For example, if we go in topic B01, the target ICOP is 2.4%. So if we see, for example, that the proposal contributes an ICOP of around the target, this is perfectly fine for us. So this will be also mentioned in the evaluation criterion. But if we see, for example, that the ICOP is 1% or 0.5 or less, then we may include a relevant, let's say, assessment in the impact criterion with, of course, that will have an impact on the evaluation score. Again, if it is much higher, then this can also be recognized under this impact sub-criterion. I don't know if I managed to answer your question, but in any case, please have a look at the FAQ part of the ICOP. I think it is extensively described how to deal with ICOP during the proposal preparation. So there's another question. I understand that there's a 20% upper limit at program level for SME participation, but is there a limit for the SMEs in each project? So there is, first of all, there is no upper limit at program level. So this is again a programmatic target of 20%. So there is no limit for SME participation in each project. This is our target. If it is higher than that, it's very, very welcome. And of course, you need to explain clearly in the proposal the role of SMEs and how they can leverage the project results. Okay, going a bit backwards on the questions. Okay, so as it is indicated under stream D, topic conditions, eligibility, entities, those which being controlled in non-eligible countries can participate if the country has positively assessed guarantees showing that their involvement will not harm the EU strategic interests. Our question is, in which form the guarantees should be provided? So I would address you to the template that we have on the ownership and control, let's say, document, declaration, but there is a part on guarantees, and it explains clearly the form that guarantees should be provided. So there is a standard template that you have to use to provide the guarantees. So another question from Agapi Mesodiakaki, if there are any hard limits or strong recommendations on the number of work packages, deliverables, milestones, project duration, etc. No. So there is no recommendation on that. It depends on many aspects and parameters of the proposal. So this is something that will be assessed under criterion 3 about efficiency of the implementation. So this needs to be assessed by it will be assessed by the experts, taking into account all the resources allocation, the descriptions, the efforts, and so on and so forth. So there is no strong recommendation on this specific part. Okay, so this is the question about the B01, B02 on IoT and devices, advanced research. So I think you can, yes, you can refer to the work program. They're clearly specified. There are 3 different bullets there. You can, so you can see them in the work program. Again, another question: if there is any recommendation on the number of partners in a consortium? No. Again, it depends on many parameters. So it's up to you to define the right and the correct number of partners in a consortium depending on the proposal objectives and the expected work. So there is no clear answer that we can provide in this type of questions. So on the SMEs, I think I have already answered. So it is an award criteria, so I will not go back into that. Again, the 20% is a target. Well, the 25% that I mentioned was the current status that we have from our 79 running projects. So it is. I mentioned that just to clearly say that we are much higher. We're performing very well in this aspect, and we are much higher than the target 20%. But we don't target 25%. The target that we have at programmatic level is 20% also for this core. So another question on ICOP by David Griffin. If a private company is not a member of the IA, I guess it is a 6G IA, is it correct that the ICOP does not count towards the target indicative ICOP? If so, does this mean that there is an effective minimum proportion of IA-JU members required in a proposal, even if there is no specified minimum member participation? Yeah, I mean, this is, of course, if we don't have if a legal entity participating in the proposal is not a 6GIA member, indeed, and it is a private entity, indeed, this 10% or 30% in terms of innovation actions will not be considered as ICOP. So this will not be considered for the evaluation of the relevant sub-criterion. So please be careful on that when you fill the table on the ICOP declaration. You need to make sure and provide the data for the real 6GIA members, and that's why we ask the PEIC number, and especially if you are affiliate entities to 6GIA, to a specific 6GIA member, you need to provide this information as well in the declaration table. So I don't see any other question. I see one from Costas, maybe I don't know if it has been answered. So this, no, this has been answered by 6GIA. So many thanks for that. It's about participation of 6GIA membership and when is the deadline for that. So indeed, for proposals, what we also say in the frequently asked questions, your application to 6GIA should be submitted no later than 31st of August, because they also need some time to work on the applications and make sure that we will provide us the latest data by the date of submission. Okay, I don't see any other. Let's go back a bit below. So I don't see any other questions. So a last call if you want to take the floor, or if you want to post your question in the chat, this is now before giving the floor to our next speaker. Okay, just the last one that we can take before moving on. We mentioned that formal validation in the participant register is required. Declare status is not sufficient. Where is this point reflected in the portal? This is something that you can see in the videos that I sent. So when declared, when you have to validate, you have to register in the participant register. There is a form when you declare the status of your organization, but then it needs a proper validation in order to have the result of the exact status. Because, for example, if you declare yourself as SME, you may, in the end, it may happen that this is not the case, and it may need to change during the legal validation afterwards. But these are details, and you can find all those details in the videos that I have said I will share with you, and it will be on the event webpage afterwards. Okay, so I think we we can stop now. Of course, if you have any further questions, please post them in the chat and I will try to reply most of them. If not, we will definitely come back to you with the relevant FAQ point after the session. Okay, so without further delays, I think I can give the floor to our next speaker. So Manfred, I don't know if you are online.
Yes, I'm here, and I hope you can hear me quite well.
We can hear you very well, so you have the floor.
So thank you. Just let me share my screen with you, and I promise it will be a very brief presentation. Okay, the other screen. Sorry for the delay. I just need to find the presentation. Okay, it's not here at the moment. Just give me a second. In any case, if I cannot manage,
if you
I
have
would
any
ask
issues,
you.
I can share it with you. I have it, but yeah, if you don't find it, please let me know.
It's open, but I don't find it in the windows to share. So let me try this. Do you see the correct one or do you see the wrong one? I think that's you see the full screen. Yeah?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'm just here to give a bit of information to you about the Idealist Network. Pavlos was already so nice as to introduce the national contact points. So we are mandated by the national authorities responsible for the Horizon Europe Framework Programme and SNS, etc., to support our communities in each distinct country. So I'm responsible in Austria to support the Austrian SNS community, but overall we have a network that's already running since, I don't know, the 1990s or something, so a very long time. So we work together as national contact points, also for the SNS, to support you as proposers, or if you have running projects and you have questions regarding, I don't know, how to submit your financial statements, etc. So you can see a lot of countries are active in these networks. So I would invite you to just go on our webpage after the brokerage event, of course, and search for your national contact point if you don't know them already. So what do we do overall? To move away from the window here, we are working like on our own terms in the national sector. We are working together in our multinational network to give you services like a topic tree, like project idea checks, like full proposal check events. We also do brokerage events. In this case, you don't need to rely on Idealist because the SNS is doing a great job here. And we also give you comprehensive overviews, guidelines, tools, etc. Everything that you can find on our web page. So what could be these services in the toolbox? I mentioned the topic tree. What we do here, and we are just relaunching this tool, is we feed in from various sources all of the topics related to the digital sector in Horizon. That includes the smart networks and services joint undertaking topics, not only the current ones that are open for submission, but also past and sometimes future topics if the work programs are pre-published. And we connect to these topics information like how are they interconnected to each other, even beyond program levels. So we try to link, for example, Horizon Europe Cluster 4 topics with smart networks and services topics so that you can see some connections. We also feed in events related to these topics, outcomes, so what projects got funded, so you don't need to click yourself through the Cordis webpage, for example, and every bit of information that we find that we believe could be useful to you as a proposer. We have personalized notifications if you subscribe to our services. We offer trainings, webinars, A lot of them are also recorded, so you can rewatch them on proposal preparation, etc. And many more services. Quite often we are complementary to SNS, so we try not to step on each other's toes. So in this case, I'm happy that SNS invited me to give this presentation here, but for brokerage event, I would highly recommend not to use our tool, but the SNS brokerage platform. So yeah, I already gave you this example of the topic tree, what it does. So it covers destinations 3, 4, and 6 in the digital, in the cluster 4. It covers the digital Europe, so there's also some ties sometimes. And we also cover the high performance computing, smart network services, and chips. For the moment, we try to expand our reach and our grasp on this. You can see on the screenshot a bit how it looks like. And we are just working on the final tunings of the next iteration. That's way better than the old version, I have to say, and way more useful, way easier to use. And just try it out. It's already online, but we will release updates constantly here. Yeah, the brokerages, just if you're also interested in the cluster 4 and not just in smart networks and services. So if you more broad in where you want to submit, we have an continuous long-term networking platform on the B2Match platform itself for the 2025 calls of cluster 4. So that's also a short opportunity, and that's already basically it from my side. I will be here for another 20 minutes in the meeting. So if you have any questions, or if you don't know how to reach us, just write it in the chat. I will monitor it. And we are very happy to support you in your endeavor to successful SNS applications. Thank you.
Thank you, Manfred. I would like to reiterate this, fantastic services. Indeed, we count on NCPs as a first line of not defense, but contact point
of support
and support, let's say, to help the applicants, because I know that you receive many questions. So indeed, it is important for us that you answer all the applicants' questions towards during the preparation of the proposals. I know how difficult and challenging it can be. I think this is the end of the first session. I do hope that you all found it useful and very informative for the preparation of your proposals. Many thanks to all the speakers with all these excellent presentations, but also to all participants and the valid and the interactive discussions via the chat. As mentioned before, we will elaborate on all these questions, and we will also update the relevant ones at the FAQ page that we maintain for these calls. So please make sure that we will rest assured that we will cover all the different aspects of these calls. So we're really looking forward here in SNS JU to receiving excellent high quality proposals and of course projects to further advance connectivity research and innovation in Europe. So this the session of course is not over. We will reconvene at 1:30, yes, apologies for that, 1:30 for the brokerage part. So this will be moderated by my colleagues, my SNS JU colleagues, Claudio and Oana, and we expect a lot of nice pitches from potential project participants. So stay tuned, enjoy your lunch break for the moment, and see you in an hour. Many thanks.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.